Hello, and welcome to 20 Lore Pro, a community of Lorcana players who enjoy deck building, competing, and opening Lorcana product. You can find out more at our Discord community, 20lorepro/discord, link in the description, where we have tons of upcoming events, deck lists, and deck discussions, like in today's video, where we'll be joined by RMB examining his Sapphire Steel Zoolander deck list, which has over 3,900 comments in our 20 Lore Pro Discord. We appreciate RMB giving us a deep dive into his specific deck list and learning more on how to play this popular deck. Hello and welcome everybody to 20 Lore Pro's YouTube channel. I'm SirAshtown and I'm joined here today with RMB, and we're looking at his two-lander wheel deck, also known as Zoolander Wheel. Thank you so much for joining me today, RMB.
Thanks, Ashton. Appreciate you reaching out.
Taking a look at your deck, we don't get to see a whole lot of Steel Sapphire, and so this is why I really wanted to take a look at this deck today. Could you give us a real quick overview of the deck and kind of the main strategies of it?
Yep, so we are a hyper ramp deck that is effectively trying to convert our first hand into an ink advantage and then use a whole new world to refill our hand. So we've got some early game board presence here in 2 Captain Hooks and 4 Prince Erics to kind of try to stave off some of the early aggression of other decks in the format. We've also got an item removal package between Judy Hopps and Benja. I personally like the split just because I like the fact that Judy Hopps can, hit one of my own items to cantrip, and I just like having that versatility and options. We've also got 3 Mickey Mouse. It's very important for us to go from 3 ink to 5 ink as we're trying to get down either a Cogsworth or a Beast. And Belle's kind of our finisher. This is our catch-up mechanic right here. Once you hit 10 ink in the inkwell, she quests for 5. She only needs to do that a couple of times before the game's just over. We've also got Flaversham and Popsicle here. Obviously, the Flaversham Popsicle package is such an incredible draw engine that came out of set 2. So if you're playing blue cards, there's a high chance you should be playing that package in some number. We've got Cogsworth here. Cogsworth basically turns off opposing steel decks and says, no touchy. You can't hurt my guys. And then we've also got Sad Boy Beast here, or as I like to call him, Fallout Beast. Incredible draw engine tool, probably the best steel card that came out of set 2. Almost probably the best card in set 2, if I dare say so myself. We've got 2 Gastons here just as an additional lore threat and an additional way to draw more cards. Tinkerbell, again, for the board control, and Hades is just a phenomenal removal option attached to a relatively well-statted body. We've got 4 Smash. Primary reason for me running 4 Smash right now is because Surfer Mini is, a real problem in the format. She comes down on turn 3, and if left unchecked, will just run away with the game by questing for 2 every turn. We've got 3 Let It Goes. I've got a split here between 3 Hades and 3 Let It Goes as like our removal options for some bigger threats that are difficult for our deck to deal with. Things like Ursula, 7-drop Steel Cindy, opposing Sad Beasts. Just things we want to get off the board as soon as they hit the board. And then rounding out our songs, we've got 4 Whole New Worlds, 4 Grab Your Swords. Wheel is the main mechanic of the deck. Grab Your Swords, one-sided board wipes I heard are pretty good. And then our item package is Popsicle and Fishbone Quill. Ultimately, what this deck is trying to do, in the early stages of the game, you want to play cards like Captain Hook, Prince Eric, or Popsicle to either draw cards, maintain board presence. And then on 3, you either want to go Mickey or Fishbone Quill. You'd prefer Fishbone Quill, but I'll take what I can get. If I could run 8 Fishbone Quills, trust me, I would. And then, so we want that turn 3 ramp. On turn 4, we really want to play Cogsworth because it is a warded singer. Worst case scenario, if we have to play Beast, we can play a Beast. We can also double ink off of our Fishbone Quill and play either a Gaston or a Tinkerbell on 4. And then turn 5, we want to dump the rest of the cards in our hand using Fishbone Quill and then Wheel. And typically on that turn 5, we're going to have anywhere between 6 to 8 or 9 ink that we can play with our freshly wheeled hand.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly powerful. Just being able to get that ramp into the wheel and getting your major players down, what would you say that are maybe the flex cards in this deck?
Yeah, so flex cards, we've got, I don't necessarily know that we need 4 item removal pieces here. I would say that these cards are very conditional of items being prevalent in the format. Obviously, in the mirror match, they're very, very good. I know the red-purple decks have kind of been steering away from Spellbook in favor of other big threats to deal with, things like Ursula. So if items don't become mainstays in the format, if we get to a point where, Benjos are just running wild and people are playing less and less items, I think that these are definitely flex slots. The 2 Captain Hooks are also flex slots. It was just a change out from Fire the Cannons to Captain Hook because I wanted to maintain a certain uninkability ratio while also like having something that dealt with some of the early game presence. Gaston is another flex slot. You could play other things in this slot here. I just liked, he's a reasonably statted body. He quests for 3, so it's definitely lore pressure, and he's also a draw engine. Smash, I would say you should play Smash in some number. I don't necessarily know that 4 is the correct number. You can play around with some of those numbers. You can play around with a little bit of the numbers in Grab Your Swords and the numbers in Let It Go and Hades. I've found that 6 has felt pretty good between those, but I've gone anywhere from 4 all the way up to 8, just depending on how top-heavy decks become. Things that I don't think are touchable, Fishbone Quill stays at 4, Popsicle stays at 4, Whole New World stays at 4. Tinkerbell, you can play with this number, but I think that a Tinkerbell on turn 4 without a shift line is just a really, really good way to deal with opposing boards. So I would probably never go down, but if you do go down to 3, I wouldn't fault you for it. Beast, in my opinion, 4 of in any steel deck. Cogsworth, also a 4 of because steel is so incredibly popular right now. You don't necessarily have to do the Haram package, but if you're going to play Popsicle, there's no reason not to. It also gives you the choice of when you want to wheel and if you want to wheel at all. If your opponent dumps their hand anticipating a wheel, okay, cool. I'll just play a Flaversham. I'll create my own draw engine, and I'm not going to wheel you and refill your hand. Bell's the finisher that I chose. If you do want to go more in on the Flaversham package and play, the full 4 and maybe 2 Nick Wilds, you could replace Bell with Tamatoa and go that route. Tamatoa is another really good finisher. I personally like Belle because she's my favorite princess and because she costs 4 less than Tamatoa. And then, like I said, the Fishbone Quills are a mainstay. Whether you choose, one jump ahead, Mickey Mouse, or any other ramp option, something to increase your consistency of going from 3 to 5 in as many games as you possibly can. It's really going to be choice based. And then Eric and Hook are just, they're there for the early game aggression of other decks. Not necessarily, I think Eric is probably more of a staple than Hook is in the current meta.
Now, speaking about the meta, what would you say this deck is really great against, and what would you think are the matchups you're more worried about?
So I'm currently 23-0 against Amber Steel. So I want to see Amber Steel every single round of every event that I play in. That deck just has a really difficult time dealing with Fishbone Quill decks. I would say the 2 decks that probably give me the most trouble are Ruby Amethyst, which I do have a positive win rate against just because I've played the matchup so much that I know what my game plan is and I know how to pace them. And the red-blue Popsicle deck, basically any deck with Be Prepared in it. Obviously, we're getting an ink advantage. The red-blue Popsicle deck can get an ink advantage right along with us, so we're de-incentivized to wheel them. But then if you don't wheel them, then they have, the Flaversham engine to just draw cards anyways, and they have cards and now you don't. And then Ruby Amethyst is just like the clearly defined best deck in the format. It's the card quality wise, like a lot of things have to go right and a lot of things have to go wrong for them for us to be a decisive winner. It's really going to come down to board and hand states and whether or not like your wheel hits multiple Be Prepareds. That's the card that I'm most afraid of in this deck because I want to play things like, multiple bells in a turn, beasts, Gastons, and I want them to live long enough for me to be able to quest with them. And once you hit turn 7, we're not really playing the game until turn 5. That gives me 2 turns of questing before, they're just going to be prepared.
Yeah, just Ruby Amethyst, those decks are really very prevalent in the format right now. And what this deck has a lot of versatility to it. And what do you think should cause people to want to test this deck out and maybe try it out their next LGS tournament?
So I think that the deck has the capability of beating anything. I think that it's definitely going to reward players that are willing to put the time and the amount of games into it to understand how to make the correct micro decisions. You can outplay anyone with this deck. It's not a deck that you can just pick up and you're just going to instantly start winning games. It does take you putting reps in on it to learn some of the key lines and some of the decision making. But the reason why I would say play this deck is if steel is heavy in your meta, Cogsworth just does so much work against steel. Your board's just never going anywhere. And if you want to play a very difficult game of chess against Magnus Carlsen in the Ruby Amethyst matchup and somehow come out on top, this is definitely the deck for you.
That's great to hear.
We'll try this out. This is mostly theory at this point. Some of the changes that I made, things like the Captain Hook. I noticed myself, like, since I took Fire the Cannons out of the deck, I've been kind of losing to like some of the aggressive strategies. So like I'm putting Captain Hook back in the deck as a way to stave off some of that early aggression, but have it be an inkable card, because I try to keep inkable counts. I don't really want to go over 16. Even with Fishbone Quill, it's very, very important for us to get to 3 ink. And like I've had hands where, you know, when I was running 18 uninkables in the deck, where I either had to ink a premium card like Cogsworth or Beast when I didn't want to, just to be able to play my Fishbone Quill.
Wow. Yeah, when you get stuck in some of those situations, you just gotta do what you have to.
Yeah, like you can't just not ink. Unfortunately, this deck's trying to get to 10 ink. So let's see here. So like we have a piece of ramp. We have Cogsworth. Those are 2 things that we're definitely looking for. I'm gonna put back this bell just because this is part of our late game strategy, not really our early game strategy. I'm gonna put back Let It Go. Kind of same concept. We want this in the mid to late game. I don't need 2 Mickeys. And if I get a Fishbone Quill in this mall, the one piece that we're really missing right now is a Whole New World. So I don't necessarily need the Tinkerbell. I don't necessarily need the Smash. I'm going to keep the Smash though, because it is an inkable card. Cool. We did get the Fishbone Quill as well. So we don't have a turn 1 play. We're also missing our Whole New World right now. I believe this is just going to be a Tinkerbell ink and hope that we find some popsicles, something to get us to our Whole New Worlds. It looks like we're going to be against green steel discard. Yep. Called it.
I've seen a lot more green steel discard since top 8'd that French 150-person tournament.
So this is one matchup where having both Mickey and Fishbone Quill I think is really, really cool, because this gives us one of our chances to pivot. So Fishbone Quill is actively bad against the discard deck because you're putting cards from your hand into your Inkwell. So you're like doing half their job for them. So I'm going to do something that I've been doing against this deck where I'm actually going to ink Fishbone Quill. Because we have Mickeys to do our ramping for us and we can ink from the top of the deck, and I'm going to play this Eric to stop this Flynn Rider from just getting free lore. A really common line out of this deck is to go turn 1 Flynn Rider into turn 2 Bucky, and then on turn 3 they shift the Flynn Rider. So I'm going to also do something here that might be a little bit controversial as well, and ink this second Fishbone. And I'm going to stop them from doing that. I'm not ready to discard cards yet.
Yeah, that does seem bold and scary to me to do that.
It is. It is. You know, it can definitely get punished, but the difference between them like playing it on turn 3 and playing it on turn 4, I think is not something to scoff at. It could be wrong though. I'm still trying to figure out this matchup, as Green Steel is kind of a newer deck that's just recently, started making waves. I don't know what the right answers are, so I'm just testing different lines to see, okay, does this gain me percentage points by doing this? We're not getting to 6 anytime soon, so I'm gonna get rid of this Gaston.
Yeah, they can be so dangerous though when they're like shifting into the Flynn and they're getting the bigger guy who does have evasive, so they have that threat on the board that you now have to worry about later on.
And there's a pretty good chance that they're just going to have, Jafar or Flynn here. And I'll be forced to discard the Mickey and hopefully not discard 2 cards here. Like if he sings Sudden Chill with this and I just go down to 0 cards, we pray that the top card is a Whole New World. Yep, so he did have the Flynn. So we'll discard the Mickey. As long as he doesn't have Sudden Chill sing here. Whew. Okay. So I'm actually going to ink this Cogsworth, and I'm going to cast this Whole New World, because this will get discarded for sure. Yeah, see, he had the Sudden Chill and Lucifer.
Wow.
Now your Flynn quest for nothing. Yeah, and I think we're still free to just quest with both of these. If he wants to run this Bucky in, like I'm okay with that. Better lucky than good, am I right? That was a pretty good draw.
That was a really good top deck. TCGs take skill, but there's still a ton of luck element to all of them.
Oh yeah, luck is definitely better than skill. There's his beast. So this Tinkerbell is going to be really, really good. I think we'll get rid of this Eric. Oh, that's really good. So I know I'm definitely playing this. This gets rid of his Bucky. It also turns off his beast. Just deciding whether or not I want to ink here. And I actually don't think I do. I don't think I want to ink this turn. 7 to 8. Yeah, I don't think I want to ink, and I also, this thing has done its job. We don't have to use it for Tremaine fodder or anything like that. If he wants to run the beast into it, fine, by all means. Yeah, I mean, they're running both Grab Your Swords and Tinkerbell, which both turn it off. So that was the only reason I didn't play it there, plus I wanted to get the Bucky off the board and turn theirs off, but I definitely need to get these in play. Hope that he doesn't have item destruction for this Popsicle, so when he does Grab Your Swords or Tinkerbell, I can just heal it. That's the other thing about this deck, man. It just doesn't... None of their stuff dies to Grab Your Swords.
And all these 1/3s, like you were saying, just really strong. You have to play both Tink and Grab Your Swords in order to deal with everything.
This is an interesting position.
I like that you have so many choices. You got options.
I do love me some options. So if he shift tinks, he can wipe my Tink plus Eric. I think I'm actually just sitting. Like, I don't think I'm forced to do anything here. We're kind of at like a board stalemate. These things don't quest for anything. If he's able to make me discard, you know, 4 cards, then like, yeah, that's not gonna feel good. But if that's the case, then we just have wheel. Like, he could have Tinkerbell shift grab your swords here, which will deal with Prince Eric and Mickey Mouse, which, oh well.
Probably the biggest part of that is turning off your beast and that.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be happy if he turns off my... That's actually really, really good for us. Like, him tapping this means that Tinkerbell can go in here, shoot the beast, and then this grab your swords is going to deal with 3 of their cards. Sudden chill. I don't really want to give him an ink advantage over me, so I'm going to get rid of this let it go for now. And we've always got wheel backup too. Jafar. Wow, he has no cards in hand. Does he play wheel? Okay. So yeah, we're going to go with my line here. We're going to attack this in here. Shoot this beast. Sing the grab your swords. We don't need Benja in this matchup. We can quest here. I want this to stay alive. We're going to play another one of these. You see how like the lines are complicated though. Like I could have definitely inked on 2 of those turns and be down 2 cards in my hand, and I could have got by, you know, like sudden chill hypnotize, and he wouldn't have like played how he played.
Right, but it has a lot of good payoffs, it looks like.
Yeah, you just have to be patient. That's the other thing too. I see a lot of players inking every single turn, like just because, especially when they start getting low on cards in their hand and they're, you know, 6-7 ink. You don't necessarily need to ink, especially if you're not sitting with like an 8 or a 9 drop in your hand that you're actively trying to get to. You don't exactly have to ink. Like, you can choose to ink at a later stage in the game because it's not going to change the playability of the cards in your deck. You know, this deck caps out at 7. The most expensive card in this deck is Hades. Do I want to get to 10 ink? Yeah, of course I do, because of bells. Do I have to? No, not necessarily. Oh man. My opponent's not going to be happy.
I was gonna say, he probably won't like your Hades.
So like here, I'm just gonna turn dude sideways because I'm the one pressuring now.
But we like that Hades for.
Yeah. Still, I'm never wheeling this guy. Like, I have the option to wheel, but there's no chance that I'm wheeling. The way that he dumped his hand, like, it's very conditional on if and when you wheel against certain decks. Like, look at this. He expends a smash to get rid of this. You gonna run your Flynn in too? And just let me win over the course of 2 turns? No? I don't think he realized counting. Better lucky than good, I guess.
Go.
That was pretty good, right?
That was really good. RMB, thank you so much for the interview. Is there anything that you would like to say to our audience or to the 20 Lore Pro community before we finish our interview?
One thing I do want to say, especially to the 20 Lore group, you guys have all just been so incredibly amazing. I know that early on in Lorcana, there were some significant difficulties with product availability, and had it not been for our savior Pavel creating Pixelborn and the friendships that I've made in 20 Lore, I don't know if I'd still be playing Lorcana, unfortunately, but it's because of this community. It's because of, you know, the hard work and dedication of Pavel that, you know, I'll be playing Lorcana for I don't know how many years to come, but I don't see an end in sight.
Thank you so much, RMB. We really appreciate you and all your contributions to the community. You have tons of decks that I've seen listed in the deck discussion panel of the 20 Lore Pro Discord, and we really appreciate you and all that you're putting into these different decks and discussions.
Thanks, man. I wanna build a community that fosters belongingness, and you know, every now and then I might come up with a crazy wild idea that breaks the meta in half, and I'm sorry in advance for those of you that are seeing blue steel as 70% of your pixelborn meta.
Well, before we leave, where can we watch you play matches, or even maybe follow you on socials?
So I don't have a whole lot of socials. I do stream on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/r__m__b. And I'm going to apologize to you in advance, but I do stream there. I haven't streamed in a little bit just because of the holiday season, but I'm getting ready to get geared back up. I got some really great technology for Christmas when it comes to streaming, so you guys will be seeing a lot more of me soon.
Well, RMB, we're really looking forward to it, and I'll make sure that those links are in the description. And y'all make sure to check out RMB and test out this deck, and look forward to seeing the deck discussion in the future.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.